You often hear us say elections have consequences. Sometimes we don't do a good enough job of explaining just what those consequences might be. The overriding issues this year are the economy and the Obama agenda. But if Republicans, as predicted, make big gains in races for governor and state legislatures, next year is also likely to bring simmering new fights over controversial issues like immigration and abortion. In state races across America, for example, you hear more and more talk of efforts to copy Arizona's new immigration law. And there's also more talk among conservatives of using new abortion rules in Nebraska as a model in other states. Here's what the Nebraska law does. It bans most abortions after 20 weeks on grounds some experts say it is at that point a fetus can feel pain. The previous state law banned abortions at the line at which a fetus could survive outside the womb, which is generally considered to be at about 22 weeks after fertilization. Will this one-of-a-kind Nebraska law survive court challenges, and will it be copied in other states? Marjorie Denenfelser is the president of the anti-abortion Susan B. Anthony Political Action Committee, and Terry O'Neill is president of the National Organization for Women, which supports abortion rights. How many states, in your consultations with conservatives and like-minded anti-abortion groups across the country, how many states will look at Nebraska and say, let's propose that here?
I would say a significant number of states, given the massive win that this was. It was an overwhelming win in that legislature there. Using that as a model in other states, I think it would only make sense that it would be replicated elsewhere, mainly because the muscle on the ground supports it. All across the country, there is consensus that late-term abortions are a place where we say that perhaps we ought to draw a line.
Some people say the reason there hasn't been an instant lawsuit is that organizations that support abortion rights, as you do, are worried that this Roberts Court is not the place to have that fight. Is that true?
Sure. They're aggressively conservative, and they've got a political agenda to pursue, and they're pursuing it very aggressively. It's really frightening. But I think the main thing here is that women around the country don't want to criminalize abortion. In fact, what women want is good reproductive health care.
This particular law we're talking about here today does not criminalize women. And you point to a law, Terry, that does criminalize women, and I'll be willing to take that down and figure out how to change it, because that is not the approach of the pro-life movement. The approach of the pro-life movement now is to actually have reflected in the law areas of consensus, like late-term abortions. In fact, this particular approach, which has to do with fetal pain, when the fetus starts to feel pain is when we start drawing the line, is the very issue that turned the mind of the leading abortionists in the nation.
That is, Terry, a big part of the debate. There is a debate about, parental consent, parental notification. Right. That's one issue. Now we are in a world of fast advancing science and technology and medical care. And so is the position of abortion rights groups that support abortion rights that is, irrelevant's a tough term to use in this debate, but that a fetus' ability to feel pain, that viability, are those less important to the simple no, that this should be a woman's choice regardless of what the science says?
See, I think that what we can all agree on is that these are health care matters, that a woman's reproductive health care is a complicated, complex thing, and it is not for the politicians. It's not for the religious organizations to decide for each individual woman what is right for her health care at that time and for her family. Look, your late-term abortions are all having to do with health care disasters and health care issues. The only other thing that they have to do with is a woman's health. And as long as we understand it's health care, it seems to me that what we really need to look at is who's going to be making those decisions, her family and herself? Or is that going to be the governor of her state or her legislatures or a religious leader that maybe not even her particular religion?
We do agree that it's about health. The question is, who are the patients? In a late-term abortion, we're talking about a healthy, viable fetus that could live outside the womb. It is a really, honestly, a callous thing to say that child is not a patient as well as the mother. There's substantial scientific evidence to show that the unborn child does feel pain at that point. In fact, when these abortions are performed, they're routinely given anesthesia, the child is, before it's aborted.
So the broader political argument, is this a battle? We see this come up in Washington during Supreme Court confirmation battles, but is this a battle where Washington is a bystander? And do you see an increasing volume, increasing intensity of a state-by-state battle about abortion rights?
Sure. What the right wing's strategy has been in the past around abortion is to test drive these anti-abortion measures. And by the way, the fetal pain measure is a measure for shocking and shaming women. There isn't any scientific evidence that there is fetal pain And so that's one of many techniques to shock and shame women around the abortion issue. It's really not, it's not medically valid, and it's not scientifically valid.
Check out the New England Journal of Medicine and reputable medical journals all over the place.
Definitely. I think that your viewers really do need to check out the reputable things, not the right-wing religious things. What the strategy has been is to test drive these anti-abortion measures throughout the states and then import them into Washington.
Marjorie Dannenfeld, Secretary O'Neill, thanks.
And today, health insurance reform is the law of the land all across America. Yes, we did.